How's the day? How was your Thursday so far, man?
It's going good. Thursday is my lightest day, so that's kind of nice. It's like my haven halfway through the week. Then I get to kind of just have a couple hours in the morning and then take the rest of the day off. So it's good.
All right, nice. Keep it chill. And I mean, what point are we at in the training camp? Is this where things start ramping up sooner, or kind of where are we at with that overall?
Now I go pretty hard in the beginning. I try to taper it down around like 5 weeks. So I got like another 2 weeks of it being pretty tough on me, and then it'll still be tough in the last 5 weeks. But I try to load it heavy on the front. That way, if I have any injuries or anything, I can kind of let them heal in the back half and get in shape and all that. So
All right, all right. I hear you, man. Good deal. And of course, big fight coming up. Looking forward to that, man. I mean, it's just such a crazy time in the bantamweight division. Like, it's always been a really good division, I think. But at this stage, like, worldwide, it's incredible, man. But for you, from your perspective, being in it, like, would you say this is the best the bantamweight division has ever been?
yeah, I think it's been that way for the last couple of years, which is why it's. I don't know. I'm just really grateful that I get to be in one of the most popular, toughest, competitive wise divisions in the UFC right now. It's just like it's just fun to be a part of, But I definitely would say that the bantamweight division has definitely been really hot for the last few years, and I'm just like I said, really grateful to be a part of all of that.
Yeah, of course, man. It's tough matchups everywhere you look, and for you, you're getting Umar, the guy who's the Nurmagomedov, who's on the come up, and of course, we were supposed to have this fight sooner, but fun matchup here. Good opportunity for you to be the first guy to give him the L. Um, Obviously, with the Nurmagomedovs, we always think of the grappling, right? And he is a good grappler, but I think he can mix it up pretty well, and some people say maybe he's a better striker than grappler. I don't know. Where do you assess him? Where do you kind of fall on that line of what he might what he might be best at?
It's kind of tricky. I think that his striking is set up to um, make it so that he can grapple. But I think its striking is certainly unique. I think that makes it challenging in its own right. I think that, like I said, I think that he does a lot of like his striking and my striking. There's a lot of parallels in. He tries to kind of just pick at people, and then when people overcommit, then he sits in on a shot and gets to win that way. So I think his striking is certainly set up in order to do that. And it's definitely super unique. He throws really dexterity like kicks, and he almost does his kicks like just as fast as he can throw his hands. So that'll be a really unique thing to deal with. So yeah, I mean he poses definitely certainly a lot of challenges in the striking as well.
I'm curious, is it hard to find kind of weaknesses in an undefeated fighter, or like how much, I guess, of that is a mental game when you're doing analysis and like you haven't seen them lose? Is that kind of more of it, you would say, or just how is it, I guess, when you try to find weaknesses or things to exploit in someone who, doesn't have official losses on their record?
Oh, I suppose I don't really think of him as the undefeated guy. I think that your record in the UFC is what really, really matters. And I mean, he's definitely undefeated in the UFC as well, but he's only got 5 fights in the UFC. So, um, like outside of the UFC, you're not fighting the toughest competition in the world. Inside, you are. So, I think that the 17-0 is, I mean, 17 is a lot of wins. So he definitely has a lot of experience, but it's a different ball game when you're fighting in the UFC. So the undefeated piece, I don't really pay a ton of attention on. Just kind of watch his fights, but I mean, there's certainly things that you can pick out of his style to make him win. Another piece is that he hasn't had the toughest competition in the world to bring out a lot of those mistakes. Not that he hasn't fought tough guys,
Right.
but you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean it is a little bit picky to see his mistakes, but I'm kind of just formulating a strategy around being able to beat him at his best without making any mistakes, and and so. Yeah, that's what I'm forming my strategy around.
Yeah, of course, man. And kind of on that note, it makes me think of like I've been asking some fighters this question lately because I kind of find it fascinating from your guys' perspective and being entrenched in the lifestyle and all that. But kind of just in a general sense, man, what would you say is like the most overrated thing about MMA or maybe a misconception or something like that?
I think that people don't understand really how dangerous a human being can be, whether they're
Right.
trained or not trained. I think that uh, like everyone can fight, and maybe I'm saying this a lot just because of the influencer impact that we've had on the
Mm-hmm.
UFC and just how there's so much of kind of that going on right now. But fighting is a unique thing in that everyone is immortal and that everyone can be hurt. And fighting is, I mean, there's weight classes for a reason. So I think that what I would say for people, the thing that there is to kind of think about when you're thinking about fighting and something that's underrated and not thought about is that, I mean, if you're an athletic person and you know how to throw a punch and you know like a few things, like you're immediately dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And but at the same time, like you're not dangerous over the course of like a career. Like you're
Right.
maybe dangerous for one or two fights, but the tough part about MMA is the consistency piece and doing the like winning on a long timeline, like a decade or a decade and a half is really what makes for a good fighter, in my opinion. Not necessarily like a short burst of you did really well for a
Mm-hmm.
few years and then fell off. I think I define good fighter as was able to do it for a decade or a decade and a half and remain in the win column for a lot of them.
Yeah, fair enough. And you mentioned the mortality thing kind of right there. That's a perfect segue into some recovery talk, Cory, because I wanted to ask you about this Chirp RPM roller, of course, and kind of the biggest benefits you've got out of it and just how much you use this thing overall, man. It looks like a nice device. I haven't used myself yet or anything, but tell me about how kind of critical this has been to helping you recover on a regular basis and just overall, man, like how important I find when talking to fighters too that the more experience they get in the sport, they realize how important recovery really is, which shouldn't be surprising, but I guess it's one of those things you don't know until you get to a certain stage, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all of the chirp stuff they're definitely really good, high quality products. The RPM in specific is my favorite, because I get to recover while being a little bit lazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's super easy for me to just turn it on and then sit there and watch TV or eat breakfast or eat dinner and just have that thing roll over my feet because my feet get really dinged up, as I'm sure a lot of runners feel, and I mean, almost any type of athlete, I assume, has some type of, you know, feet problems
Yeah.
at some point. So the RPM is a really nice thing to use so that I can just be a little bit lazy and actually relax while I'm recovering. So that's super awesome. The rollers that they have, I think, are great. They're really compact, so I get to take them on the road. And the foot roller, of course, I really like to take on the road too. That's good for not only the feet but also the hips and just kind of those types of joints too. So I mean, I love all the chirp stuff. It's high quality. It's like made to be super convenient as far as traveling and
Mm-hmm.
just the usage of it. And I really love the RPM just because I get to be kind of lazy while I'm recovering, which is ideal,
Yeah.
you know?
Of course, yeah, you don't want to be exerting too much energy while recovering. That defeats the purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, have you noticed a moment where maybe you have your routine of the recovery you're doing with the Chirp products, and then you have a day where you don't have it for some reason. You're like, oh damn, this kind of sucks.
Yeah, definitely. I forget it sometimes, you know. Like I forgot to pack it on trips, and then been like, damn, now I got to use this stinky foam
Right.
roller that everyone else has been rolling their sweaty bodies over. So yeah, it's more of that for me. It's like, man, I want my own germs on me. I
Right.
don't want a bunch of people in the mat rooms. I don't want all their sweat all over me more than it already is.
Yeah. Yeah, totally understandable, man. So, all right, good deal there, Corey. Well, man, I mean, again, going back to the fight coming up here, I know it's like it's it's been said to be the title eliminator, right? And I say it kind of hesitantly because it's like how much can you ever trust that stuff because things are always changing. But that's good to have it out there and Dana say that and all that kind of thing. So for you, of course, get past Umar first, but when you look at what does come after and, O'Malley or Merab, assuming that that does happen as it's expected to, do you have a preference in who you'd rather fight between those two guys?
I mean, the fans really, really want to see me and O'Malley
Mm,
fight. Like that's something that they've been asking for a really long time. I'm gonna go out and do my part and win this fight. I want O'Malley to go out and do his part and win his fight. That way, this championship fight can be one that's just been one of the most highly anticipated MMA striking matches that so many of the fans are already really, really intrigued in. And just the fact that we can do it on the championship level and the championship scale, I think would just make such a huge fight. So um, that's who I'm going to be rooting for. But I'm going to go out and do my part and beat Umar, and I hope that Sean goes out and does his part and beats Merab so that the fans can get the fight that they've been asking for a really long time.
yeah, that'd be a fun one. I think stylistically, if you know anything about the sport, we all know that would be a great matchup, man. But you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier about impressive for fighters to hold down kind of success for longer periods of time, and that makes me curious too, kind of attached to O'Malley, how he's already spoken about potential double champ type goals or things like that. And every champion seems to be interested in that these days. But I'm curious for you, Corey, like, what is more impressive to you? Would you say it is defending your title for a long time or becoming a double champ?
I think clearing out the division is the coolest thing that a champion can do.
Yeah.
I think being a double champ is cool, but like you said, man, like styles are the things that make fights. And I think that the pinnacle of being a martial artist is having the style and the high tech like techniques and just things that you're doing that can beat anything that you come across. And that's really what fascinates me about being a martial artist is being able to beat every single type of style and not and develop a style that's unbeatable. So it's way more cool to me to clear out the division because that means that you had a ton of different styles that you had to deal with, opposed to
Mhm.
just jumping up and maybe it's a good style matchup for you. And yeah, they're the best in the division for them too, and the best in the world for themselves also. But uh, maybe it's just a good style matchup. And so I don't know. That to me is the pinnacle of being a martial artist is being able to handle whatever comes your way.
Yeah, no, totally, man. And that makes me think about too. Like, do you have any dream fights that you never got or have yet to get? I know you always mention Dominic Cruz, which is, I'm sure every bantamweight's on the come up there. But any dream fights for you that you never got or have yet to get?
Not really. I would say no, not really. I mean, there's definitely a couple names that I think would be just super cool to fight because I just have such an immense respect for them.
Hmm.
I'm not really a guy that cares to fight people because I don't like people. I
Yeah.
want to fight people because that they're like super, super good and I look up to them in a sense. But Aldo was always one of those for me. Max Holloway was always one of those for me. And and yeah, I would say that those two guys are definitely on the top of just guys that I highly, highly respect as far as competitors that I think would, I don't know, maybe be cool one day.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. And which fight do you say that you would that you've learned the most from, man?
Good question. I think I learned a lot when I fought Petr Yan. I think that I had to learn some lessons just in how to fight a person of that style.
Hmm.
After I fought Petr Yan, I actually took maybe like 6 months and just trained instead of worrying about the next fight so I could build in some new skills. And in that time, I added like some offensive wrestling, and I added some really good elbows for guys that kind of fight like Jan. And then my first fight back was I got to fight Song Yadong, who
Right.
is a lot like Petr Yan, and I used the things that I had been practicing in that time to beat that style, and it won me the fight because I cut him and I was able to take him down a few times. So yeah, I think that the Jan fight was one where I kind of got to take a little time off after that one and makes just some adjustments to fight in that type of style.
Is it tougher to have a finish loss or like a controversial decision where you're like, oh man, I should have had that one? It's kind of nothing you could do. How do you kind of weigh those those two results?
Yeah, they're just different. They both suck equally
Yeah.
the same, but they're different. They're just different. It's like, who do you love more, your son or your daughter? You know what I mean? It's like um the losing the split decisions or just decisions. If you get beat, you get beat. You know,
Hmm.
like the Jan one, I'm okay with because I got beat. The TJ one, I was like really bummed about because I thought I fought pretty well and definitely did like I beat him up,
For
and so
sure.
that was like a weird lose too. But the loss is I think I only been finished once by Aljamain.
Hmm.
That one hurt just because it was like embarrassing and it was like totally felt like it was my fault, but I just wasn't experienced enough to know how to compete at a higher level. So that one I learned definitely a lot from too. But now that all the losses kind of suck, but I would say I spent a lot more time thinking about the TJ loss than the other ones, just because I was like, dude, how does this
Right.
work? If I fuck that, how does that work?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fair enough, man. Definitely thought you won that one as well. So is what it is, on the right track here now. But it's crazy, Cory. A couple weeks ago, I remember it popped up on Twitter, but somebody posted a highlight from your Alcantara fight. And man, still even seeing that back all these years later, I'm like, how the hell did this guy survive that? Like, what are your memories of that win, man? Because that's like that is one of the best examples of like toughness for an MMA fight I think still that I've ever seen, man. It was insane.
Thank you. Yeah, I just really didn't want to lose. uh, that's really what it boils down to. Is I kind of I just remember being like, well, I remember having like a couple thoughts. I remember being like, damn, this is not good. Like I was like, man, I need to get out of here. So I remember having that thought, and then I also remember having like the specific thought of like feeling my arm be just way, way extended, and
Mm.
being like, well, I was like, well, I'm gonna need surgery anyways, probably. So just let it. I was like, just like it's broke, like just let it be broke. Um, and then I remember being super pissed when I got out and just wanting to murder him. Uh, but yeah, it was kind of I don't know, like when you go in, I think to fights with a certain type of energy where it's like I'm not leaving this cage the
Hmm.
loser, no matter of who. Like whoever I gotta kill, I'll kill. Like I'm not leaving this thing as a loser. I think when you go in with that mentality, like you get caught in stuff and you have adversity happen, but it's kind of just your heart. I mean, my mind was just set on one thing, and that was winning. And I didn't really think too much about the optics of it or any of
Yeah, got the job done one way or another. So
that.
that's one I always remember, man. So props to you for that one all these years later. But all right, Cory. Well, I don't want to keep you too much longer, man. Been great getting to chat with you, catch up. Very excited for the fight coming up. Wish you the best luck with everything, man. But before I do let you go, I love asking people this one that I've met for the first time. But if you never got into fighting, man, what do you think you'd be doing instead? I know that's a real tough question, but is there anything that comes to mind?
uh, nah, I don't know. It'd be really hard. I'd have to maybe like I guess I was doing like some I wouldn't call it social work, but I worked at a residential treatment facility in my time coming up and
Mm,
trying to get into USC. That really interested me. So probably some type of psychology. I don't know, maybe being like some type of sports psych or being some type of psychologist or therapist to kids that kind of need it was kind of where my interest was and was always kind of the backup plan. So, yeah, just something like that. But I'm definitely not smart enough to get a doctorate. So I don't really, I don't know how far I would have been able to go with that one. But yeah, some type of social work or something like that, I think is what I was thinking of doing if I was going to fall on my face and fail at this dream. So.
All right, that's cool, man. I mean, is that something you'd still be interested in doing afterward, or do you think it's kind of ship has sailed because of how things turned out?
No, potentially. I definitely know that I have like a really soft spot in my heart for helping like kids,
Hmm.
like teenage kids, kind of young adults. I really like just being like a really big supporter of them. I teach a couple of the I guess they're still kids. They're like, lower 20s.
Yeah.
I help a few of those guys at the gym, and that brings me like a lot of happiness in my life. So, uh, yeah, something like that. I think definitely something including that afterwards will always be a part of my life.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah, gotta always give back when you can. So doing it right. But all right, Corey, you don't need to worry about that now as the fighting thing's going pretty well. But I appreciate you taking the time, man. And again, wishing you the best going forward in this next fight and the trip overseas should be fun and all that good stuff, man. So just thanks for taking the time, and I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday and a great weekend, man. Appreciate you.
Cool. Thanks, Drake. Nice talking to you, man.